Thanks for logging on to myfoxhurricane.com. We've been talking about this area down in the tropics, down in the Caribbean over the past several days, that Invest 98. Well, now it is formed into Tropical Storm Melissa. What it had over the past day or so were winds at tropical storm force. It just didn't have that low level circulation. But now you look at this and it does have that closed low. It's still not a well-defined system because you saw where the center is. It's over here. You're seeing where all the convection is. It's all sitting on that eastern side of the storm. So that tells us it still has a ways to go to really organize itself, but it's going to be a slow and steady process, or at least that's what all the indications are telling us right now. It's going to be a process, a slow process over the next several days. There is some stronger wind shear to the north of this system. At least in the short term, it looks like it's moving into an area where the winds are a little more conducive for some development, but it's also going to start to work its way on towards the north and the west, and the wind shear is going to start to increase in some of these areas. So it does look like over the next several days, wind shear will tend to be a bit of an issue. Also, some of the dry air, which is sitting on the western side of this system. So even though the Hurricane Center is anticipating this to strengthen, they do say it's going to be a slow strengthening, not a rapid strengthening with this. And then you have the track, because this is going to tend to be a slow moving storm. So this is going to be around a while, and there's likely to be some issues that we have to address as we go through the next several days, just because of the way this track is going to be moving. So right now, winds are at 50 miles an hour. It's moving to the west at 14 miles an hour. But look at this track as it continues to slow down, and you can see it is basically inching along, slowly strengthening as we head through Wednesday, heading into the weekend. By the weekend, that's when we expect this to finally become a hurricane. And then here we are on Sunday. It's a hurricane. It still really hasn't moved, when you all things considered, really hasn't moved all that much. So that's why we're talking about a slow moving system, and that could also be a big issue. Slow moving tropical systems, remember, the amount of rainfall that they have is not a factor of the strength of the system. It is a factor of how quickly or how slowly they move. So if this moves very close to these islands and then moves very slowly, the rainfall accumulations could quickly become very, very serious. Also, remember, at least with the structure of this storm right now, we could tend to see a lot of this weather, especially if we continue to be dealing with a lot of that shear pushing this storm off on towards that eastern side. You could tend to see a lot of the weather sitting right over the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and causing huge issues as far as the torrential rain, the mudslides, and the flooding. That is going to be a big, big concern as we head through the next several days. You look at the computer models, and that's why there's really a lot of concern with this, because in the short term, that general idea, it's moving to the northwest. It's eventually turning towards the north, but then you're seeing really a big divergence in these models. And so that's what gives you that low confidence. Does it take a track something more like this? Does it move closer over towards Jamaica and then over Cuba? Because at this point, any of these ideas, they're a real possibility. There's nothing to really indicate one way or the other which one of these camps is more likely to happen. So you look at the AI models, and here we are looking at the Google AI, and we focus in on this because so far this season, the Google DeepMind model has done really a nice job with many of these systems. So it gives us interest. What is this model telling us? And basically what you're seeing is that same idea where from run to run, it is struggling with this as well. Now, the overall idea is it's going to be a slow-moving system that's going to linger down across the Caribbean, potentially moving over towards Jamaica a little bit, but eventually it works its way on towards the north and the east. But again, the overall idea, the messaging is this is going to be a slow moving system that's going to basically just linger for the most part down across the Caribbean. We're looking at our more traditional models, the European, the GFS model, and our own Fox model. Here we are looking at the position of this, and as we head through the rest of the week, heading towards the weekend, you see they're fairly close. You do see a range of where they could be, and that range could really have some big implications. This is as we head into Friday evening, but then you notice with the GFS, it is starting to push it on towards the north and the east, where we have that other camp with the European and our own Fox model that just tends to linger this back across the Caribbean as we head into the weekend. So the general idea, I would think we can certainly say many of these islands down here are going to have to deal with this as we head towards the end of the week and then heading into the weekend. But there's still a lot of fine details that we'll have to iron out as we go through the next several days. The bottom line is, as far as the U.S. is concerned, this will stay to our south and east, and eventually it'll all work its way on towards the north and east, staying away from any sort of U.S. landfall. We'll have more on this right here on myfoxhurricane.com.